Hey guys, Mike Tarallo here, doing something new. We are setting up a pilot, if you will, for what I call live stream Fridays. And it'll be a short live stream session, about maybe 15 minutes, depending on how much engagement we get, and just sharing some tips and tricks and nuances about working with Qlik. Basically geared towards Qlik Cloud analytics capabilities, but there'll be some pieces in there for client managed. Like, for example, today we're going to talk about the layout container. So I'm going to get started right now. As I mentioned, this is a little bit of a pilot program. I'm testing it out right now. I shared a link on LinkedIn to see how this is really going to work. I got the camera here, and then I got my sharing screen there. So I'm going to be kind of looking in different directions. And there is a Q&A and a chat type of panel on the side. I'll have to be monitoring that. We don't have any moderators at this time, so we're just kind of testing this out. And then we're going to take it from there and see how it goes. At the same time, it'll also help build up a library of these tips and tricks, kind of like turnkey on the fly. I learn a lot as I'm creating content. I've been in the company going on 14 years now, and I have a lot of knowledge to share. And it takes a while to build up scripts and content and publish it and produce it. Sometimes it's faster to just hit a live button, answer a question, and show something that I've learned. So other than that, sit back and enjoy and watch, ask some questions. For those of you who know me, I appreciate you viewing my content over the years. And for those of you who are new to Qlik, we have a lot of resources to help you get started, and you can see how we make a difference in BI and technology, and working with different types of capabilities to get access to data and making that data consumable to many users and making decisions. I have a lot of content to share. So I'm going to share the screen right now. We're going to talk about the layout container. As I mentioned, we'll pause. It'll be a little awkward because this is live, and I'm going to have to kind of look at the chat and, also kind of engage with people as it comes. Alrighty, so let me see how this is going to work. I see I don't have to use additional software like you would have to in the past to share the screen. I should be able to just share my screen here. And let's see, we're going to share screen 2. I got so many screens here. Screen 3, that's what we're going to do. Yeah, I have 3 monitors. Oh, look at that, I just hit the mic. I have 3 monitors set up across here. It's almost kind of like a cockpit. All right, so here we go. All right, so this is an example of a dashboard that I'm going to share over the course of times doing these. For those of you who have seen the content on the YouTube channel, for example, I guess what I could do is I could just briefly go to our YouTube channel. And there is a playlist here, and it's called Do More with Qlik. Okay. This playlist has a lot of content that I built over the time. Okay. So you might have seen this dashboard throughout a lot of my demonstrations. And this is an example of what I call a order fulfillment dashboard. I'm actually redoing it at the moment because Shopify, one of the main sources that I use for this live dashboard, changed its model, changed its REST API, and broke a lot of things in their back end that I had to fix. And there's lots of ways of doing that, utilizing our data integration. Qlik Cloud will automatically, make those updates and changes. I had an older approach with this. I was just using a extract and loading into Azure, and then, modeling my data a traditional way, because I'm old school Qlik, But that being said, we're just going to talk about the layout container today. This is an example of actual layout container objects laid out in a number of different areas on the grid. We got a table here, we got filters here, we got a KPI. So each one of these objects are in a layout container, and then it allows you to basically just create a interactive layout that is fitting, kind of reduce the complexity on how your items are laid out, and put it in a manner that people might want to see. Now, obviously, there's some design aspects that need to go into this, into understanding how people want to view and access their data. But this is something that I found useful to me. Images of products, orders that are past due, orders that are becoming past due, etc. That being said, I set up a sheet. Okay, and I am using Qlik Cloud here, but this does apply to Qlik Client Managed as well. Guys, do me a favor also, if we want to test out the chat, if you can throw a chat in there so I can kind of see that it is working, because I want to make sure I am addressing any questions that come out. Make sure that you could hear me. I did a test run. For those of you that are joining, as I mentioned, this is just a test pilot of a live stream Friday, as I'm calling it. The test run worked, but until we actually go live, we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to go to the sheet that I created here. And let me go to the sheet. I created a new sheet. Oh, actually, you know what? It is in a different, I have it right here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is just a app that's been loaded with data already. Okay, this is not one of those sessions that's showing you from scratch. This is one of these sessions designed to just work on a specific topic. So if you go to your custom objects in the assets panel, you'll see an object for the layout container. I'm going to grab the layout container and just drag it to the canvas. If some of you are wondering, why we need a layout container object, it's because this is a approach within the technology to go to bigger and better things with laying out objects that are going to come in the future. So this kind of gave us that like midway way of introducing something to allow these pixel perfect alignment of objects and layering and grouping and all that other stuff without having to, revamp everything immediately. So this is kind of like that approach. And then as we continue to upgrade the product, eventually this will move towards a full layout, pixel perfect layout object. So right now what I'm doing here is I'm just putting in and sizing the object all together. And I'm going to add a piece of content. Now, content can be dragged and dropped, or it can be added from scratch. So for example, here, if I wanted to just add an object like a chart, or I wanted to add something from the master items library that we had set up, I could do that, but I'm not doing that directly here. I'm just going to add content because I don't have anything set up in the master items library. So I'm going to click add content. I'm just going to add a bar chart, click add dimension. I'm going to select category name, click add measure, and I'm just going to search for sales and then click sum of sales. And there's our first object. Okay. So a couple things you need to know about the layout containers when you're achieving focus on an object, right? You want to move an object, you click it and you drag it. Sometimes you might see that it doesn't drag. You need to make sure that the object has the anchors around it so you can move it depending on how many objects are in there. You could hold down the left mouse button and lasso the object and then click it and then move it pretty much anywhere in the canvas area. There are properties and presentation settings that you can set up within styling for the object. And this is where some of the nuances of like understanding which object properties you're working on. Notice the anchor is highlighted. I'm now looking in the layout container, and I'm looking at the properties of the layout container. Now I'm in the chart object and I need to right click and select edit properties, and you'll see the properties change. I do have some requests in to make some things a little bit more intuitive and improving. Like, so for example, like I'm in the layout container, I click on the object, but notice the properties are still active for the layout container. Why aren't they active for this? You have to double click it again. Okay. So single click allows you to move, double click changes it to properties, or right click edit properties. And that'll bring you directly to that again. Okay. So just to reiterate, when you're clicking on objects, a single click allows you to move the object. A double click will enable the properties. Or if you're on a different object, you can say a single click, right click, and then choose edit properties. And that brings the properties face forward. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Again, these are nuances that people might not realize who are new, trying to use that new capability and might get a little frustrated with it. So that's why I'm bringing that to your attention. Okay. So if I want to add another object, very simply, you can right click, you can say add to master items. Oh, I apologize. I wanted to mention that you could save this object to your master items list to be reusable. And we'll talk about that at another time. If I had an object, let me see if I have, let me just grab another item here. I don't think I have some order dates in here. So like, for example, here, add line chart to container, right? So you can drag objects. So if I grab a line chart, you'll see it says drop item here. You let go, add line chart to container. Now I have this object added. I think I have order date in here. Yes, I do. And measure, we just use sales again. And now we have our line chart in here. I could change the title, sales over time, sales by category. And now we have our two objects. Again, you can shift. I'm sorry, not shift. That's a little trick I'll show you in a moment. You hold down the left key. Now you can group the objects. You can resize the objects. If you want to resize the container, this is one of the things I wanted to mention. If you don't hold any buttons on your mouse, resizing the container will resize the objects. Okay, let's say you started out with a small container object and you wanted to expand it. If you go to grab the anchor and pull it, it's just going to resize the container and the object. Holding down your shift key will resize the actual container. And then you could add other objects in there as well. Okay, same thing here. You can see I'm making this larger. Hold down the shift key and I can make it longer that way as well. Okay, when you want to do alignments, you'll have alignment anchors. It might be difficult to see on the screen, but there's these orange guidelines, and that's just assuring the distribution of the objects match the same size. If we wanted to change styling of an object, as I mentioned, you can double click to access different properties. So let's double click sales by category. Let's go into presentation, styling, chart. You can change outline, titles, labels. If you go to general, you can change background color, background image, just to keep things simple. Single color by expression, just make more of like a lighter blue, for example. At any time, I can take the object, right click, and choose copy style, and then choose the other object, right click, paste style. Okay, so when you start changing objects that have things that are in common, right? Titles, background colors, opacity, for example, if the fonts are on the same axis, etc. You can then make all those changes in one chart and then paste that, copy that style, and then paste that style to the other chart as well. And it makes it a quick way of basically upgrading, you know, the look and feel to match corporate branding, if you wish, etc. Now, one question might be is, can we save those styles? I have that in our ideation process. That is something I believe that the team is considering to create some types of layouts and themes, but currently not at this time. Okay, couple other things I did want to mention with the layout container. The main canvas, if you right click on the main canvas here, just to activate it, you can see there's grid spacing. I have mine set to custom, and my grid spacing is all the way to 42, which is these little grid boxes here. I like that because it gives me a little bit more precision and control on how many objects and the tightness of the snap to grid. So if we change it, for example, to wide, and then I click it, you're going to see it's going to snap to the larger boxes here. This is a personal preference. I pretty much prefer just always changing it to custom and then making it as small as possible, and then readjusting accordingly. Okay, so as I mentioned, guys, these are quick streams. We're approaching the 15-minute mark, so I can go a lot longer as well. There's a lot of other differences, different capabilities, but this at least helps get you started with some of those little nuances that aren't really front and center or intuitive right away when you start using layout container. I'd appreciate any comments or questions at this time. I don't see any chat coming in, so I'm a little concerned the chat's not working. So if you guys are not familiar with how to use the chat, that could be one of the reasons, but I would like to see if some of the chats are working. As I mentioned, this is a pilot new stream. I see more people have joined, so I just wanted to make sure that they see that I am trying to address any other questions. So I'm going to type something in the chat. I'm going to type test. Yeah, okay, that did come up. Okay. So I'm going to try to make these live every Friday morning. We'll talk more about this. One thing I do want to leave you with is the Qlik community. On the Qlik community, we started a new area under events, and it's called Do More with Qlik. Okay, and this is where you can collaborate and work with me and see a lot of the different content pieces I create. We always put the top 3 across the top. And then I'll post new ones. And as I post a new video, it'll pop up across the top here. Please note, do not use this as a substitute for technical support. Use the broader community as well to work with the community members and everybody to, get the support you need. Cause I'm very busy. I'm always working on different things. I always do my best to respond if I can. As you can see, there are some replies already coming through in some of these posts that I've made, but this is a great way to help you learn more about what is possible, the art of the possible, if you will, of working with Qlik. My latest series is on taking action on your data, working with Qlik Automate and Qlik Analytics and integrating the two. I hope to do a couple of quick live streams on that in the future. Other than that, as I mentioned, I like to keep these to about 15 minutes. Thanks for your time, guys. Hopefully I'll schedule these more in the future and we can take on additional topics. If you have suggestions for topics that you'd like to see in a live stream, please let me know. All righty, guys, you take care and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.